on your wrist, a plain Jane.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy. What up and welcome back. It's your girl Jane, the plainest Jane, and we got some syrup to get into. Y'all know I tell you each and every time, okay? One of my main taglines is what things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. And today we're honing in on real life. Grandpa Joe, okay, is almost the center of discussion in this video. And listen, it's going to be heavy. This is some thick, realistic syrup that may even anger or trigger you, because y'all know I'm sensitive about protecting the babies, and this is one of those things. Okay, so listen, hit thumbs up on your way in. You can't ride my bus without paying your fare, and it's free to pay your fare. Okay, hit the thumbs up button. It's free to donate. You can also send a Cash App if you want to. Super chat, super thanks, all that good stuff. But listen, I just appreciate your presence in the free donation of you hitting like. Let's get right into it. It's gonna get heavy. It might get tense. Okay, Joe Biden is pushing the transgender agenda on to children. Okay, transgender athlete Lia Thomas and her unfair advantage in women's sports based on and proven by science is another thing that will be discussed later on in the video as well. And so when I talk about here on my channel, I've coined the term issues under the flag, right? And that's not me having a problem with the LGBT community at large. What under the flag, when I talk about issues under the flag, I'm talking about the predatory behavior that exists within some people that label and categorize themselves. They're infiltrating, they are merging themselves with the LGBT community, and they're using it as a shield or a loophole to get away with more just malicious stuff when it comes to seeping into young, impressionable minds. So children are being targeted. They're being forced to consume and deal with the politicization of the LGBTQ agenda. These children are being groomed. They're being indoctrinated. And a lot of people are apprehensive to ask questions. A lot of this stuff, it happens without parental consent, and it is instead being powered, right? It's being powered and executed by school systems and new government policies. And a lot of times we find out when it's just a little bit too late. So this is a video that is specifically talking about two issues under the flag, right? However, I am having a general panel where I'm inviting any and everyone who is a part of the LGBT community to speak Sunday at 12 o'clock. This Sunday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we are having a panel to discuss some of the people who literally are trying to groom children, but they're adding themselves to the LGBTQ, labeling, right? All the way down to the point where they're trying to add an M to the LGBT community, and M stands for MAPS. What are MAPS? They're coining themselves minor attracted people. So not only are they trying to normalize that, they're trying to normalize it by pushing it into, merging it into the LGBT community. And the entire LGBT community are not out to harm or to get into the heads of children. There are some sick freaks, and sometimes I question, do you really classify that way, or are you just using that as a shield because people are apprehensive to ask questions. They don't want to be labeled as phobic and so on and so forth. So listen, we get down to the nitty gritty, and this is one of those serious shows. I'll put the celebrities on the back burners in the heartbeat to talk about real things going on in the real world affecting people like you and me, and especially our children. Okay, so we're gonna get right into this thing. Make sure y'all hit thumbs up on the video, have a seat on the bus, get comfortable, grab your libations. Okay, pull up, roll up. I don't want no meth heads on my bus, so if you use that type of stuff, get off the bus. Okay, now shout out to everybody in the live chat. I appreciate all of y'all coming in, paying your fare, hit thumbs up. Listen, let's get ready for takeoff. This is going to be really intense, but I think it's really important to understand what's happening. We're gonna go straight to the source with this new policy that Joe Biden is behind, with requiring that if you aren't allowing boys or transgender boys into the girls' bathroom, then he's withholding hungry children's lunch money. Something seems so wrong about it, and I want to unpack this. So listen, let's get ready for takeoff, shall we? Wrong clip. Hold up. Let's get ready.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
And we're back. So let's go ahead and head straight on over to the source. Here it is bigger on the screen. We're going to go through some stuff, and I'm going to break it down and put it in layman's terms for you. So you can see this is the Food and Nutrition Service website. We're going to scroll down because there's just a lot of legal jargon, a lot of legal jargon. We're going to scroll down to here. You can see they're referencing the LGBTQ community, right? This is the paragraph that really lets you know what this is about, and I'm going to break it down even further for you, okay? It says, as a result, state and local agencies, program operators, and sponsors that receive funds must investigate allegations of discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation. Those organizations must also update their non-discrimination policies and signage to include, prohibitions against discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation. So let's talk about what this means. This is not getting a lot of coverage on mainstream media, mainstream news. I don't know why, but I think that it's really important because with all this legal mumbo jumbo, it reads like, oh, y'all are just being inclusive, right? But no, there's a lot of new legislation that is being passed down the pipeline. And if you aren't able to allow, right, these boys, right, into the girls' bathroom, you won't get lunch money. And the school is left to deal with, well, who's going to pay for lunch? If we decide, no, we don't want to endanger our schoolgirls. We want to keep them safe. So who's going to pay for the lunch money if not, right? Let's talk about it. Let's get into this. So look, I skip my whole part where I tell you to check in on your mental health. Y'all know I recommend you checking on your invisible problems and what's going on in your world before you get to tapping into all the craziness that exists in the rest of the world. Shout out to my new subscribers, and make sure you subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. But think critically and independently, regardless of what you hear from me or anybody else. So this is the Food and Nutrition Service. Again, we're on the website, and they're talking about in order for you to receive funding from us, these are the people who pay, right, to make sure that 30 million kids a day eat in schools. So Joe Biden is threatening to deny lunch money to needy kids, to hungry children, if transgender bathroom mandates aren't met. Okay? This is just what it is. So under this new demand, establishments that accept any federal food funding, including food stamps, must also allow males who claim to be female access to female private spaces, such as showers, bathrooms, sleeping areas. These organizations must also follow protocols, such as requiring staff to use accurate pronouns to describe transgender people and allowing male staff to dress as women while on the job. Now, listen, that's mumbo jumbo. Like, who cares? If that's what you want to wear, while you're at work, that's not, the problematic part. The part that comes into play is the school part. And that's really breaking down with this whole excerpt, right? Because we're talking about the Department of Agriculture, who is moving forward because they have this backing from Biden. Okay. Now, prior to the COVID-19 shutdown, the National School Lunch Program, it serves 30 million students a day. It feeds 30 million students a day across 100 public and private schools and residential healthcare facilities. So, listen, there are a few religious exemptions to this, okay? When we get into talking about the religious exemptions, religious institutions, however, qualify for a waiver exempting them from these requirements. said the Alliance Defending Freedom Senior Council, right? They did an interview on Monday, and according to the 1962 law, religious institutions don't have to file any paperwork in order to be exempt from having to allow people who classify. Now, listen, if you consider yourself to be transgender, it doesn't mean that you have had a full reassignment surgery. This lies on your pronoun, right? And you can be in the process, before or after your surgery and still consider yourself to be transgender. And the thing about this is, when I'm listening to all of these different teachers, when I'm listening to them talk about the difficulty, it's not that anyone wants to necessarily disrespect children who want to consider themselves to be something other than the gender that they were assigned at birth. The teachers are reporting that you have children that are changing their pronouns multiple times a week, multiple times a day. And some of them do it just for the hell of trolling or heckling the teacher to make it more difficult for the teacher to address them correctly. So if students are labeling themselves as a pronoun other than what they were assigned at birth just for the hell of inconveniencing a teacher, what else will they utilize a different pronoun for? You got to think. Remember when you was in school and you were going through puberty and the things that you were curious about and the body parts that maybe you wanted to see? So you got to think, if some of these little boys want to see some boobies or see some inappropriateness and they understand the rule, well, okay, well, if I consider myself to be she, her today, I can go over there. That's kind of unsafe. It's not kind of unsafe. It's very unsafe. It's very unsafe. And so, listen, there are religious exemptions. However, you're going to have some facilities playing with religion for the sake of not wanting to follow this. Children who don't attend Christian schools will be subject to social media, just not social media chaos, but social chaos and chaos in general. Okay? And this is going to be going on at school for a long time, on top of the lockdowns that have already deeply damaged learning trajectories. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. Oh, someone sent. Oh, thank you so much, V, for sending the $10 Cash App. I really appreciate that. So let's keep going. Like I said, I'm not trying to make anybody uncomfortable, but I think when it comes to, listen, let me tell you something. I'm a grown-ass woman and I don't want a man who considers himself to be a trans woman. I don't want you in my bathroom. That feels unsafe for me, and I'm a grown woman. Imagine what your babies feel. Imagine what girls are feeling, having this being forced upon them, and the school feeling like, well, shit, who else is going to pay for y'all to eat? If we want the money from the government in order to pay for y'all food, y'all are going to have to deal with this. It's not even that the school might not necessarily agree, but somebody's got to foot the bill for the food. Who's going to pay? So like I said, some people are going to be playing with religion in order to be exempt from this. The USDA is informing school officials that they can file exempt, right? If they confirm in a statement, right? And here's what they say, quote, organizations may request a religious exemption by submitting a written declaration to the Secretary of Agriculture, identifying the provisions that conflict with the specific religious organization. So if you don't already have religion in your organization, you won't be exempt. You can't just write a bogus letter and be exempt. That's not how it goes. It's just not how it goes. And so I really want to know how you feel about it. I've got a lot more information to get into. A lot. So I think that this is dangerous. And not only do I think it's dangerous, there are times, right? And matter of fact, it was in Virginia, Loudoun County, Virginia. Just last year, a young woman was sexually assaulted in the school bathroom by a young man who was granted access by the district's transgender policies. You might ask yourself, well, how long will it take for a sexual assault to take place? It's already happened. Rapists are going to rape. And if rapists realize, well, if I say this keyword and this keyword, I'll have easier access. I won't even have to break into anything. I will be granted access to the people that I want to brutalize. They're going to do it. If they're already doing it to young kids, right? under the guise, using the shield of the flag. Don't think that teenagers, elementary, middle, and high schoolers are exempt, because this is something that's going to be transpiring, taking in effect. They're going to announce this in June. And this is something in K through 12 schools. K through 12 schools. So this is just odd that this is such the priority right now with all that we're going through. We can't even get policy on ensuring the safety of our schools, but we've got all of this legislation to make sure that young girls are going to be uncomfortable in a bathroom with people who may want to do more than just use the bathroom, who may not even want to use the bathroom. Listen, I feel like, satisfy all parties by making a third bathroom, period. Nobody's left out. It's inclusive, and you don't have to infringe upon the privacy of schoolgirls or just women in general, of biological women. Why should women have to deal with that? No one's saying we don't care what you wear, who you like, or how you dressing. That don't make us shit at night or make us lose sleep. However, when I'm in there minding my business and changing my clothes in the gym locker room, I shouldn't have to be subjected to that. And the kids damn sure shouldn't have to. And it shouldn't be anything that's backed, or if y'all want this money, you better do it. And if not, oh well, what type of gimmick is that? But okay. All right. Parents have shared how their daughters no longer use the bathrooms or locker rooms in their public schools because they don't feel safe there. I've actually been witnessing, a matter of fact, I showed it in several videos ago, a few weeks ago, where the girls were protesting. They did an in-school protest because they feel tremendously unsafe with boys going into their bathroom. Many parents are finding after the fact that school districts are helping their children live as the opposite sex, and they're helping those children to hide it from their families. So again, why are we focused on legislation like this instead of protecting, right, the kids that already exist in the schools? This doesn't make sense to me. And shout out to all 105 of us in here. Make sure you hit thumbs up if you have not already, okay?
Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news.
All right. And thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I'll read that in just a second. So listen, some percentage of school districts, they want to be told by the federal government that they have to implement gender ideology, because if anyone ever complains, they'll just be able to say, we're just doing what they told us to do. Go blame Joe Biden, not me. And listen, be who you want to be. Be who you want to be. But don't inflict that on young girls. The $10 super chat says, sometimes when women dress in the bathroom sometimes women do dress in the bathroom outside of the stalls. They shouldn't have to be subjected to someone walking in on that. Privacy is still needed. I'm getting ready to cry in the bush. Absolutely. I get it. If I go to the gym and I'm in the locker room and I see a man, I don't care. If you were born a man, right? Or if you consider yourself to be a trans woman, but you're not a biological woman, I don't care if you're wearing a dress and a wig. I feel uncomfortable with you in there with me while my body is exposed. That's just me. Okay. So using food, right? Because food is a necessity, right? We're not talking about cutting after school programs, which would still be wrong. You're literally using food to force and promote confusion, because that's what it is when you in the middle of using the bathroom or changing, and you have to allow the opposite sex to walk up in there. You're using food as an intimidation tactic, as a means to invade the privacy of schoolgirls. That's not okay. It's not okay. Listen, besides the individual predators who want to blend themselves into the LGBT community, knowing that they have malicious intent, right? And they're grooming children and they have predatory nature, right? it seems like the school system, right, and even legislation is being made to groom the kids as well. How do kids going to eat if they snatch the money? And again, ask the question, how long before someone gets sexually assaulted? Well, there are already cases where women are sexually assaulted because of a young man being granted access by the district's transgender policies. So are we going to wait? Are we going to have to wait for these injuries to rack up before we say, you know what, bring this to a halt? Make a third bathroom. We're not telling them to go outside and take a pee. Make a third bathroom, period. Build a third bathroom. Every school situation has more than one gender bathroom. So if the first floor got a male and a female, the next floor needs to have the third bathroom changed to sign with it. I don't know. But cis women shouldn't have to be made uncomfortable and their privacy revoked because of this. It seems really unfair, and I'm a whole ass adult, and it's not okay with me. So when we talk about combating this stuff, because like I said, we're directly on this website right here, taking this information, right? The Food and Nutrition Service, this is coming from. How do we combat stuff like this? Only a couple options, right? We can withdraw our children from the schools. School boards can refuse to follow these regulations that are not legally binding until all court challenges are resolved. Schools can refuse to accept federal funding that comes at such a high cost. And then state legislators and Congress can try passing new laws to limit and undo this is an intrusive decision. So between state legislators, Congress, and listen, withdrawing your children from public schools is so much easier said than done. It's so much easier said than done. So that's not the ideal option for everyone to go pack up and go, to a private school or Christian school where they won't, or whatever religious, right, school, so that they don't have to worry about these types of things. But there's still going to be a lot of uncertainty there. So hopefully there's enough outcry to stop this. If we're talking about inclusion, it's not discrimination if you are infringing upon my rights to make yourself more comfortable. So now I'm being discriminated against as a woman. If you consider not allowing a trans man or you consider yourself to be a trans woman now into biological women's bathrooms, talking about it's discrimination if I'm not allowed in there. Well, now I feel like you're discriminating against me because why should I have to deal with this shit? Why? I understand that literally the LGBTQ community is damn near a protected class at this point. They got more legislation than we do as Black people who were stolen from Africa. But there's still a lot of uncertainty here with, okay, how can we combat this? How can we rise up against this? How can we stop this from happening? Y'all locking down our wounds and making natural born women uncomfortable. Make that make sense for me. It absolutely makes no sense. It makes no sense. Parents have got to speak up. They got to speak up to school administration and the school boards about this. I think that it's beautiful, the protests that I've been seeing from the teenage girls, from their parents alike, showing up to these meetings, showing up to these conferences, being very vocal about how uncomfortable their children feel. I mean, come on. So the transgenders feel uncomfortable, so they then make biological women feel uncomfortable, and then they get to get comfortable and put their feet up. Meanwhile, biological women are thereby uncomfortable by y'all being in the spaces where our coochies and our assholes and titties are exposed. And I'm sorry to get vulgar, but that's how you got to put it, because people, you discrimination. No, it's not. It's not. Because if that's the case, you're passing the discrimination from you to me to alleviate yourself. And how is that fair? How is that fair? The school administration and the school board, they have got to be brave enough. They've got to be brave enough to do the right things and to make a lot of noise, to speak up and speak out about this in efforts to protect the babies from this dangerous policy. This is a dangerous policy, and this is a array of different accidents waiting to happen. We talk about sexual assault. We talk about sexual battery. We talk about a lack of consent. All of that shit wrapped into one, and you are giving them a pass if they show up to school tomorrow and say, hey, I'm a girl, let me in there.
It'll go from them going in there just to take a sneak peek to say what they can take a look at. You talking about giving them access to the showers in the girls' locker room? Really? Does that make sense? So it'll go from them going in there to take a peek, and then it'll turn into some touching without consent. Come on. This is a disaster waiting to happen. And it's already happening in some places that are already enforcing stuff like this. But to write something like this in legislation and say you're not going to be able to eat unless you let them in there, what type of gang shit is that? That's some gang shit. A lot of issues up under this flag, and we don't talk about it. And who is this going to affect more? Listen, it's hungry kids all over the place. Yes, it is. But we talk about poverty. We talk about statistics. People of color. We talking about free school lunches being taken off of the table completely. And I'm not saying black people are the only folks, right, who are able to utilize and qualify for free lunches. Several different other colors. But when we statistically, when you talk about the race of people who experience more poverty than others, you know that's us. Which is why the violence exists in our community. See, we don't go to schools to shoot up schools based off hate. The violence happens in our community because of poverty, because a lot of us are poor. And we have an economic disadvantage. And it's structurally built in. That's just how the country was founded. So who's really going to be hungry if a school decides to take a stand and say, no, we're going to protect our kids. But in order for you to protect your kids, the kids got to be hungry. What type of pickle does that put the school system in? Because who's going to foot the bill? You're talking about taking money off the table that's going to feed 30 million kids a day. It's a lot of issues up under this flag. And I understand some people want to take my words, right? And take the subject matter out of context and call me phobic. And I'm not. Live how you live and do what you do. This is why I think that you need a third bathroom. You need a third bathroom. Nobody's saying treat you like a dog and go pee outside and don't go in the boys or the girls if you consider yourself a trans. No, there needs to be a third place for you. Because biological women, and let's just even say if we put it the other way around, if a girl decides to, take on male pronouns, right? And she just wants to go in there with the guys shouldn't have to deal with that either. And I know some guys might think, stop it. Whichever way it goes, it's uncomfortable and it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's not. It's not. Let's go to the bush and weep. Let's see how y'all feel about it. And let's get into the next story when we talk about biological women having to be uncomfortable because transgenders want to be comfortable. And that's not me calling them out or saying that they don't have a right to be comfortable. But that's a mean-ass trade-off. It's mean, it's cruel, and it's a violation.
It was gone.
Let me just go in the bush and weep. Let me just go in the bush and weep. I just have to go in the bush and weep. Really. I don't understand. I swear to God, I don't understand.
All right, let's get into the next story. I want to know how y'all feel about it. Hell, I'll open the phone lines and see how y'all feel about it. We talk about protecting our babies. I'm serious about it. So I'm going to drop the link. If there's anybody that wants to call in, go ahead, click the link, call in. But let's keep on with the show. I want to get into something when we talk about Lia Thomas. When we talk about Lia Thomas and the unfair advantage. Lia Thomas is a transgender athlete who is able to participate in women's sports. Those women on that team voiced how it's an unfair advantage. You talk about that amount of testosterone that you were born with as a transgender woman gives you an unfair advantage. And this is something that's proven by science. The doctors have called it out today. And there's been a little bit of a chain event that really hasn't been fair. It hasn't been fair to the biological women on that team because of the way that Lia Thomas was born. So I want to talk about, and I'm going to play you a clip in a second, of Lia Thomas speaking about how miserable she was when she was playing men's sports before she transitioned over to a woman, and that being some of the reason and the motivation as to why she transitioned. And I want to dig a little deeper into how it's not fair for a transgender to play, right? If you transition from male to female and you're now trying to play women's sports, again, the same way I would propose that you need your own bathroom so that you're comfortable and you're not making anybody else uncomfortable. It's the same way I feel like there are more than enough transgenders coming out of the woodwork for y'all to have your own league. Instead of y'all making other women uncomfortable and having your unfair advantage and collecting metal after metal after metal after metal, because your body is biologically and chemically different. So let's go ahead and get into this clip. Hit thumbs up if you have not already, and let's get into it.
Her success in the water was met with outrage leading up to the NCAA championships. Her critics say she jumped in the rankings between the men's and the women's team.
And there are some who look at the data and suggest that you're enjoying a competitive advantage. What do you say to that?
There's a lot of factors that go into a race and how well you do. And the biggest change for me is that I'm happy. And sophomore year, where I had my best times competing with the men, I was miserable. And so having that be lifted is incredibly relieving and allows me to put my all into training, into racing. Trans people don't transition for athletics. We transition to be happy and authentic and our true selves. Transitioning to get an advantage is not something that ever factors into our decisions.
You didn't transition to win more medals?
No.
Thomas quickly became a lightning rod. 16 of her own teammates and some of their parents wrote anonymous letters arguing Thomas posed a threat to women's sports.
The women who signed the letter anonymously said that they absolutely supported your right to transition, but they simply think it's unfair for you to compete against cisgendered women.
You can't go halfway and be like, I support trans women and trans people, but only to a certain point, where if you support trans women as women and they've met all the NCAA requirements, and then I don't know if you can really say something like that. Trans women are not a threat to women's sports.
While the science on transgender athletes is new and evolving, some medical experts say the effects of higher testosterone during male puberty may never be fully erased.
Okay, so what are your thoughts? Because, baby, I feel a lot. I don't have an issue. With Lia being who she want to be, dressing the way she want to dress, getting whatever reassignment surgery she want. However, you were miserable competing against the men. The girls on the team that you played for went through hell, still go through hell, having to deal with you infiltrating their sport. Women's sports belongs to women. It belongs to biological women. It does. And they shouldn't have to share it with people who have a ridiculous amount of testosterone who are cheating their sport, because that's what it is. It's a cheat. And not only were you miserable when you were competing against the boys, you were also losing. So you transitioned over to the girls, whether you did it to make it easier for yourself or not, but you weren't winning any medals over there with the guys. But listen, here's the thing. You were miserable over there with the boys. Well, guess what? I don't mean to sound mean. I really don't. But why should you have to pass your misery along to the whole goddamn team? The doctor confirmed today. It made all the headlines. They confirmed that you have an unfair advantage. I hope that you're on your way out of the women's league, and I hope that you're on your way to advocate for the beginning of transgender sports, because y'all need it. Y'all need it. And that's not discrimination. That is me encouraging you to create your own space in your own lane where you're not infringing upon the rights, the privacy, and the comfortability of biological women, because that's exactly what was happening when you were over there with the girls. And I'm going to play you another clip of the girls and what they had to go through when they voiced their dismay about your unfair advantage. So you were miserable playing for the boys. So how about the women who have the disadvantage thanks to your arrival and your infiltration, right? They feel miserable too. So all of a sudden you're happier, and you said it yourself in this clip. I was miserable playing with the boys. I'm happy playing with the girls. And all the other 30 plus girls that you want to team with, they now have to be miserable because you decided to do some shit to make yourself happy that made 30 other people unhappy. That's an unfair trade-off, and it's not okay. It's not okay. They voiced their opinion. They voiced their dismay and how unfair. The girls been saying what the doctors just said today. You have an unfair advantage, which is how you were able to win so many goddamn gold medals. They were forced to take counseling as if they were the problem. They were forced to take counseling because they were deemed to be crazy or phobic or not being inclusive when they were saying for weeks, for months, what the doctor just said today. Now make that make some sense for me. Make that make some sense. So much so that all of them that signed letters, that all of them that spoke up in the clip that I'm about to play for you right now, she had to do so anonymously with a shadow because she is afraid of the wrath of y'all community, because people are afraid to question y'all. Because y'all will gaslight and make us seem like we're discriminating because we just want our privacy and what's rightfully ours. Women's sports belongs to biological women. End of story. End of story. And if transgenders, I understand, everybody should feel like they're special. And transgenders do feel like they're special. You are so special that, baby, you deserve your own league. That's what you deserve. You deserve your own league. Let's take a listen to this and what these girls had to go, women, right? Because these aren't like minors, right? What these women had to go through while they were on a team. Let's take a listen. And if you haven't already supported the stream for free by hitting thumbs up, thank you so much for doing so now. And thank you for hitting the subscribe button, okay?
Lia obviously helps us do better, right? Lia's swimming really fast. Lia's performance helps.
This is a teammate of Lia Thomas. She's so afraid of having her real identity, even her real voice. They had to use software to change her damn voice because she's afraid at the wrath of the community.
Lia obviously helps us do better, right? Lia's swimming really fast. Lia's performance helps the University of Pennsylvania swim team. The feeling of winning doesn't feel as good anymore because it feels tainted. There was a lot of things you couldn't talk about that were very concerning, like a locker room situation. If you even brought up concerns about it, you were transphobic. If you even bring up the fact that Lia swimming might not be fair, you were immediately shut down as being called a hateful person or transphobic.
But there's never any conversation. The coaches don't sit everyone down and acknowledge what everyone's really upset about.
So Penn actually brought in people high up in the athletic department to talk to us. They brought in someone from like the LGBTQ center. They brought in someone from the psychological services.
So you're upset about what's happening, and so
Yeah.
you need psychological help.
Yeah. And they told us in this meeting, they said, look, we understand there's an array of emotions, but Lia swimming is a non-negotiable. However, we can help you make that okay. That's what we're here for.
So you mean to tell me that when they decided to speak up for themselves as women in women's sports, that was muffled and they shoved counseling down these women's throats when they had been expressing what the doctor... In other news, water is wet because we been knew that there was an unfair advantage. You mean to tell them they were told that they were hateful and forced to take counseling if they voiced their dismay and how their sport that belongs to them was being infiltrated? That's what you're telling me. Make that make sense for me. Make that make sense for me. Jamaica, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It says, I'm a lesbian. I've been one for my entire life, and I'm 41, and I totally agree that it's unfair. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that I have a great amount of allies who agree with me, because I am friends with a lot of people in the LGBT community, believe it or not. And I think that it's unfair for the plethora of people that I know who are part of that community to have to deal with to be associated actually with some of the issues under the flag, and especially the narcissism where Lia feels like, listen, I was uncomfortable over there with the men. I'm gonna come over here and make all these other women uncomfortable. That's not cool. That's not cool. But I tell you, the way that I stared at the screen today when I found out, here it is, I'm going to put it on the screen. This was something that broke earlier this morning. Y'all know I read the newspaper every morning, okay? And doctors confirmed that trans swimmer has a physical edge or advantage over biological women. So if you follow me on Twitter, y'all already know the deal. I'm like, doctors have confirmed that she does have an unfair advantage over biological women participating in women's sports. In other news, water is wet, because baby, we knew that. We knew that. We knew that already. Why do we need doctors to come out and say this? I think that they're on their way to booting her out the league. And I think that that's amazing. And that's not me trying to be mean. However, I can imagine Leah's going to feel very lonely when this takes place. However, due to the fact that Lia had already had the spotlight, a lot of people have their eyes on her. This is going to make her really want to go hard, and her and all of her supporters go hard with creating their own league, not to break back into another woman's sports. We don't want to see her trying to break into the racetrack or wherever else. Create your own fucking lane, because you need one. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair, right? I want to get into something else that I found to be really, really interesting today about Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe. Woo, child. Grandpa Joe. I said, this is what he's spending all his time doing instead of really focusing on people who are dying. People who are dying. Okay? Let's get into, what his team, because we know Grandpa Joe, he barely know what time of day it is. He doesn't know any of that stuff. Let's just listen to a little bit of this clip right here.
This week, CBN's Heather Sells spoke with Dr. Ryan Anderson at the Heritage Foundation about President Biden's transgender agenda.
LGBTQ advocates say that Joe Biden will be the most pro-LGBTQ president ever. He is known in particular for his support for the transgender movement, and he has promised that the Equality Act will be his top legislative priority. Joining us now with more is Dr. Ryan Anderson.
His top priority, not focusing on a hate crime bill for us niggas, not focused on making sure schools are safe and secure. But this, I'm not saying it's not important. However, concentrate those efforts in making sure America is safe, and concentrate those efforts when it comes to the transgender or the LGBT community. Focus that on adults, but to place that above the safety, right, to make the LGBT community a protected class before you make Black people a protected class is really interesting to me. Asians got it. Jews got it. How far back in history we got to go to see how long Black people have been oppressed? Lynching just became illegal not too long ago. Everything is so delayed when it comes to us, but it seems like the LGBT agenda, it gets to butt the front of the line so much to the point where some schools that want to stand up for the safety and the privacy of girls, those schools might be hungry if they deny that funding. The priorities here are backwards as hell, and I found this to be baffling as shit.
And he has promised that the Equality Act will be his top legislative priority.
Top priority. not world hunger, not world safety, not making sure blacks get what they need based off of racism and oppression and us being targeted by the police and society at large. This. I'm not saying wipe it off the table and don't, because, there are some issues and there are some safety concerns and there are some people who target the LGBT community and violence that is being done to them. But when you look at the data and you look at the statistics, do you think that the LGBT community are targeted more in a violent fashion, right? And systemically, or Black people? Because our plight as Black people goes back way before black and white cameras existed. Hell, probably before cameras even existed, as a matter of fact. Yeah, it did. But this is the most woke president we ever had. And that was an important trope for him to make sure he grabbed onto. I find this to be pathetic.
Joining us now with more is Dr. Ryan Anderson, a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Dr. Anderson, thanks for joining us.
Sure thing. Happy to be with you.
So you have written a book, of course, on the transgender movement when Harry became Sally, and you have concerns about this transgender movement, its impact on children and on religious liberty. When it comes to religious liberty, how might the new Biden administration's agenda affect it?
I mean, so the first thing to say there is that anyone who believes the truth, that we're created male and female, and that male and female are created for each other, could now find themselves on the wrong side of the federal government. So that's just the first way, because this is going to be, if the government's imposing a false ideology, anyone who's going to believe the truth is going to be potentially at risk. But even more important to my mind are the children struggling with gender dysphoria, who the federal government is now going to say that their best solution is to take puberty blocking drugs, cross-sex hormones, and then one day possibly even have surgery. Before we even get to the religious liberty violations, we should realize that these are harms precisely on a young person's body, a young person's sense of self, and we should be resisting those harms.
How do you see that playing out with respect to children? Obviously, the president can only suggest legislation. How might that new Biden White House affect children and their medical care?
Sure. I mean, so it's not just that they can suggest legislation, which is certainly true, but they also have the broad discretion of the federal agencies and of executive action. So, who's running the Department of Health and Human Services? Who's the head of the Department of Justice? Those could impact all sorts of executive branch actions where they declare that it's now, quote, discrimination on the basis of sex, where sex is now understood as gender identity, to not transition someone, to not give someone puberty blocking drugs. And otherwise, they could say that good medicine now runs afoul of federal law. And that's going to have huge impacts on children and the therapy that they are allowed to receive and the therapy that they must receive, including.
Since when has the LGBT community been historically oppressed to the extent and the magnitude that us Black people have? Why are they being given rights and bills and protections? And, it would even be different if those bills and protections didn't step on the necks of other Black people and the comfort and the privacy of other people. But the trade-off is make society in large uncomfortable to make this sliver of the population comfortable. And that's not fair. It's not fair, okay? And I'm here to say it. This is an issue under the flag. This might be a conversation that makes people uncomfortable. I know I have a handful of subscribers who, matter of fact, I saw one subscriber in the chat who was really upset with this discussion. And I care about how I make people feel, but I care about Black people in large, and I care about the protection of children in large more than anything. This is a painful and intense conversation, and some people may feel like I messed up along the way. Some people may feel like I'm being phobic, but honestly, I'm not being phobic. I don't have a hate or a fear of people within the community. What I have a problem with is children being affected. All these children, all these girls are speaking out saying, I'm uncomfortable with this. And I'm a grown woman and I'm uncomfortable with it. So I can only imagine what these kids have to deal with. What are we going to do to make them more comfortable? It's a battle of comfort. Make a third bathroom, make a third sport, and call it a day. We got men's sports, women's sports. We need trans sports. We got men's bathrooms, women's bathrooms. Make a third bathroom. You go some places, there is a family bathroom. That's a bathroom that allows for both sexes to go in there. It's a larger bathroom, whatever. We already have a bathroom that is, I wouldn't say a family bathroom is gender neutral, but it does allow for both sexes, either or, to walk in. Come on now, stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. This is not okay. It's not okay. What more can I say? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? If you feel like I'm wrong, listen, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Oh, Bonita, you feel like I'm being phobic? Bonita, would you be willing to call in? If you want to click the link and tell me why, I'm open to you challenging me outside of me, maybe reading your comments on the screen. Here, I'll drop the link. Because I'm not being phobic. I don't want you to cease to exist. I don't want you to be treated like an animal or like a dog or to go outside and find a tree to piss on. No, I feel like you need your own bathroom. If anything, that's humanizing the shit out of you. You need your own safe space that doesn't make someone else feel unsafe. There's nothing phobic about that. But if you would be willing to call in. Oh, okay. Okay, it was a typo. You forgot the not. I'm like, okay, listen, because if you disagree, you disagree. Oh, you are not being phobic. Okay, I read too fast. Got you. Listen, because I'm willing to debate. Am I passionate about this subject? Yes, because we're talking about the leaders of tomorrow having to deal with this type of stuff. And this stuff is new. So I think that it can get it can get concerning, because you got to think about our grandparents grew up with racism. We grew up with racism. But this is a new thing that's being implemented, and the consequence falling on children. That's what we really have to worry about. Listen, one of my closing thoughts, I was going to wait till I got all the way to the end to give it to you, but I'll give it to you now. Some of my final thought and unanswered questions is I feel like schools are straying further and further away from teaching the basics, such as math, science, social studies, hell, home economics, which they took out of schools, but I do think they need to put that back, right? I see a huge downshift in intelligence for the coming generation, which is really sad for our future, because we're focused on, putting transgender books into the hands and ears of third graders and all this other stuff that is being indoctrinated into school curriculum as it pertains to these things, not to mention the conspiring that is happening between the school system, the school board, school admin, keeping some of these things a secret from the parents. Come to school. If you tell us that you want to be something different, we're going to give you this medicine. Remember, I went over that story of the guy who lost custody of his child because he called his child a he, because his child was born with a penis. And he goes to school, and the school low-key is giving him things to change his body, reduce his bone density as he goes through the sexual orientation that the parent had no clue of until he got the expensive insurance bills. It got to the point where the child was taken out of his custody because calling the child his pronouns that he was given at birth was illegal. So this stuff can get dangerous to the point where by the time parents find out what's really happening in the school, as the school system wants to keep things on the hush, they want to remove consent from parents and put it all in the school system. There's something really dangerous about that. Really, 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 really dangerous about that. Right. Why didn't they pay for it? You want to go ahead and have him change all this is going on, but you won't pay for it. So listen, B Stokes said, I hope that I hate that disagreeing automatically makes you phobic. I agree. I agree. Okay, we got somebody calling in. Let's go ahead and we're going to bring up our caller. Y'all hit thumbs up, okay? And let's bring somebody up who called in.
The following video is broadcasting live, and thank you for being my studio audience. Thank you for hitting thumbs up and subscribing to my channel for more Black news, celebrity entertainment, and a splash of controversy.
Hey, Spicy, what's going on?
Hey, you. Is my volume down and all that?
Your volume's great.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my mom did like a lot of years in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, California, CDCR, decided that the men in the men's prisons, those men, they have breasts. They're beautiful. They have beautiful breasts and structured faces and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they still got those other parts down at the bottom. They can't be in men's prisons because they gonna keep getting rap-reported. You know what I'm talking about? You know.
So you saying that they're gonna get like harassed by the rest?
No, they do get harassed.
Okay.
Not harassed, but rapid.
Can you break that down for me?
They get raped.
Oh,
I be trying not to say with them kind of words on other people's channels, but
no, it's fine. It's cool. It's cool
okay,
to break
cool.
it down.
Okay, no, they got breasts. They get raped. So
when
I don't
you
know
say
about
the men with the breasts get raped, do you mean they had a surgical change, or are you talking about men that just maybe got some man boob?
If you got no. I'm talking about the ones that's transitioning before they went to prison. So they already started the process. So the top is ready, but the bottom ain't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they go put them in the men's prisons because they have the bottom part of the men. And then they get that sexually, And then, so my state, California, decides, no, they have to be in women's prisons because we can't protect them. They're going to keep getting hurt.
And that's very weird to just place them in women prisons. That's very weird too, because I get it. Some of them may not be able to survive in a men's prison because of the risk that they have to endure there. However, other people, for the sake of whatever, we just seen that story in the news about the women ending up pregnant because of somebody who was transgender over there with the women who might overpower a woman at night just because you got breasts. For example, an example of everybody doesn't fully transition. Just because you got breasts doesn't mean you cut off your penis.
So
Flame Monroe.
My mom, it's hard to explain, but when people be in prison after a certain amount of time, they get the status of whatever. She was not a gangster, none of that. But when you get moved from Chowchilla to Corona, California, and you're older, you get the status. And so she was like, you're not about to put no penis in my, oh, sorry to say that, but you're not about to put them things in my room, in my cell. And she went crazy. And the people was like, but this is the law, this is that. I don't care what you're talking about. You're not supposed to put that in my cell.
And
okay,
this is
now
the
fast
thing.
forward 10 years later, yes, he has kids by not only prisoners, but also guards. I'm sorry, did I call him he? Am I still supposed to call him she after he gets women pregnant? I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that.
My thing is, look, like the population is growing as it pertains to people who don't just identify as straight male or female. The population is growing. So at some point there needs to be a separation, because problems can happen when you place them either or. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were once a he and now you're a she, or vice versa, or they them, there is a risk either side you go on. So the same way they need their own sport, they need their own bathroom, they need their own jails. The population is only going to continue to grow. We got the advertising that's out here. Transgender people are not going to stop populating.
And at the end of the day, a lot of people, media-wise, think what's happening with this situation, it was all consensual. That's not true. That's not true. My mom's gone now, so these women love me to death. Like, how are you doing it? did you know that? And they just telling me stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, he's still there. Yes, he's still there because they can't put him back in a men's prison because they will report him. They will
Okay,
take
they
it.
might,
He got breast diseases. He
and
got
other people, others may have the intent to go to a woman prison and force themselves upon the woman. I mean, especially you call yourself being there for a lot of time. Listen, you know how many men end up turned out by the time they leave there, not because they was gay when they went in, but because they still getting sexual urges.
That's
And
correct.
some people ain't just satisfied with leaving things to the imagination, the masturbation. They want to actually stick their thing in
That's
something.
correct. But
So it's
my mom's
unsafe
prison
either
is one
way.
of those prisons you go to when you did good, when you handled your business, you worked your way up out of that hellhole you was in, and it's a different type of prison. So CIW is more along the lines of, oh, we'll accommodate you. So after us complaining and complaining, like my mama said she don't want a man in her cell. Well, he's legally a woman. She don't want a pee in her cell.
Hello, it's a shame that you got to call it out that way. But when people act like they don't understand what you're saying, you got to get blunt. That's why I'm like, when I talk about the schools, I'm like, listen, schoolgirls don't want to have they coochie, they butthole, and they titties out around somebody who has a penis.
That's
period. And you talking about the schools where they actually do legitimate gym and actually take legitimate showers in the locker room and stuff like that?
At the same time. Yeah. So just let me get off your line so you can get back to your show. Because I love you. Look, at the end of the day, California, because we was on one. We family loved ones, we call PLOs. Because the loved ones. We was on one. Like, no. Look, I ain't got no problem with these people. My mama just don't want no pee in her cell, like locked in all night. That's it. Like, so they this one little prison, this cushy prison in Cali. They built them their own building.
If they can get their own
they built them their own building. They still there.
Rights.
They had their own. They got their own building. But that's at the cushy prison. That's what I'm trying to say. This is a graduation prison. You have to literally get your life. You got to do programs and you got this. It's a lot of work to get out of child children.
They want their own legislation, their own set of rights, their own this, but they opposed to their own bathroom. We phobic for suggesting y'all having y'all own facilities, but y'all want y'all own everything. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me.
And at the end of the day, I ain't trying to step on nobody's religion, but I was raised Christian. And God literally told me in the Bible, the rainbow is a sign that I will never fly the world again. Did you take the whole rainbow from me? You get to take everything. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be mean. I just let it all go. You be like, okay, well, they own the rainbow now. You just let it all go. But when you tell me that my name is officially now a cis woman, and I say, no, I don't want that. And you're like, but it's in the dictionary. Okay, I repeat, the things you stole are also in the dictionary because the word gay means happy. It means happy. It's in the dictionary. But when it comes to what you going, we named you sis and that's who you are. Wait, hold up. You took a lot of stuff that we let happen. Rainbows, the word gay. Like, you took a lot of stuff.
And the word bleak. I'm like, when did y'all claim the word bleak? Because when I was growing up, I knew the definition of bleak, and it wasn't what it means now. Hell, even the term woke, woke used to mean, you're enlightened about the black fight. And you know what I'm saying? You think about Kufi Dashiki and Malcolm X and whoever. Right. Now woke means something totally different. Totally different.
I don't. So I just feel like in my heart, I don't think the one thing we should put down on, you can't name me. You don't get to name me. You don't get to steal the word gay, which means happy. Happy and gay, that was Christmas. I mean, you stuff. And now, this, because it's in the dictionary. What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. I'm not this. I'm bar. We are bar women. Born and raised. Bar. I'm really trying to start.
Okay, biological women. You know what I'm saying? You got to either say biological woman or born a woman or a cis. You know, you got to find so many ways to say, you know, what you are, because somebody will come in and be like, well, I got to change, and I am a, you know, listen, we're not talking about you. We talking about women who were born with periods and who naturally get them. That's what we talking about.
Right. And I'm not hating on you. And that's the sad part, because they don't get that. Most of us not tripping. Like, I'm not. But sometimes you just step so far to you trying to tell me I'm not a woman because you are what woman means now. Okay, now I'm getting scared.
Yeah.
Is my dude gonna leave me for one of you?
Well, look, I appreciate you calling in so much. You made a lot of valuable points, especially when we talk about, you know, taking certain words or hijacking certain words to someone, so to speak, and having to adapt to a word having a totally different meaning now. That's something really interesting. When I thought about it, I only thought about the word woke, but now that you bring up some of these other words too, I'm like, damn, I never thought about that. So yeah,
Rainbow?
I appreciate you bringing those points
like the rainbow. That was from the Bible. Yeah, love you, and thank you for answering my call.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you calling, and feel free to call in the future too.
Okay.
All righty. Bye-bye. That was awesome. I appreciate my callers calling in to the show. Okay. This is a platform that is not an echo chamber. I am very opinionated and very passionate. Oh, yes. And when I'm talking about protecting the kids and when I'm talking about racism, it ain't but so much budgeting I'm going to do. Right. Y'all remember I had a caller call in and said, oh, white people who are racist, they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, bullshit. I'm not budging on that. They know what I'm not even providing, because you start saying shit like that in public, all of them will start running with, we just been doing this for years. We don't know what we're doing. Bullshit. You know what you're doing. So there's certain things I am just not going to budge on. However, I'm willing to hear the other side, but fuck it, let's debate. You know? So I don't mind having a difference of opinion on my platform, and I appreciate when y'all call in and make the show a bit more colorful and bring more to the discussion than what I am. Although I can discuss a wide range of things, I really enjoy sharing my platform and letting y'all call in as well. Okay. But this is really interesting. We go over Joe Biden's agenda to be the most woke president, right? And when we talk about woke, we're talking about people who are down with, how can I say this, right? To be politically correct. We talk about woke. We talk about people who have no holds back, no bars, anything that the LGBTQ or the gay agenda, anything that they want to do, even children aren't off limits when they want to push that. Being progressive is one thing. Being aware and having diversity and inclusion is one thing. But when we're talking about shoving it down children's throats, that's where the buck has got to fucking stop. It's got to stop. But when we talk about woke in this day and age, it's like, oh yeah, bring that, you know, if you feel like you're a girl and you're in the 3rd grade and you're not a girl and you want to be a boy, then maybe you're transgender. You know, putting those books into kindergarten and elementary, and that's not woke. That's fucking ridiculous. But actually that is woke, because that's the definition of woke, is being progressive in that way. Being okay with Zaya Wade tonguing down her boyfriend on Easter Sunday and posting a picture, and everyone else just having to be okay and not being allowed to have an opinion about it or start dialogue about it. Yeah, it's that. it's that. That's what the new definition of woke is. And listen, I'm gonna call out the issues under the flag all the time. And if somebody feels like, listen, you messed up, you know what I'm saying? You're being phobic, or maybe you shouldn't do this because here's who it offends or whatever. Listen, feel free to shoot me a message or click the link at any time. You know, I'm not above reproach, but understand, I'm going to say all I need to say and put down my thoughts when it comes to protecting kids. Period. We talking about the leaders of tomorrow. When we get old and decrepit, these are the people who are going to be running the country and taking care of us and working at all these spots. It is important that we protect them. The shit that they being introduced to as a grown person, I don't even know how to address. I couldn't imagine being in school and them being like, let them boys into the bathroom. Are you serious? Are you serious? They shouldn't have to deal with that. As adults, we get called phobic if we're uncomfortable with it. Like, no. Not at all. Right. Listen, Belize, yeah. You saw I took my time and I said boyfriend because that's the appropriate, pronoun or labeling that Zaya's boyfriend wants to be used. So listen, I don't mind being respectful and calling you your pronoun, because calling you your pronoun ain't hurting nobody. But taking your penis, regardless of the fact that you want to be called a girl, taking your penis into the girl's bathroom, that's a problem for those girls. I'm ready. I'll be ready to throw bowls for it. Okay. I remember how horny them little boys was coming up in school. Could you imagine if all they had to do was go up to their teacher and say, "I'm she, her today"? Are you serious? There was some boys I wouldn't even want to walk past if I was alone in this school, let alone for them to be given a pass to walk into the bathroom. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. They said, Jane, it's bloody confusing. Yeah, it's bloody confusion. And then you got some teachers that are literally in the midst of their journey as a part of the LGBT community, and they're seeking the validation of their students. And listen, it's a mess. I'll save that for a whole nother episode, because listen, I only want to give little bits at a time. Okay. I already know I got some people that are going to call me phobic. Listen, call me what you want to call me. Debate me, right? Call in. I'm always going to be discussing problems under the flag, namely this Sunday, but I'm always, and I hope that before this week ends, I'm able to have more broadcasts about issues underneath of the flag. Click the link and call in. Don't just leave your paragraph in the comments. Make yourself available and call in and speak your piece so that we can challenge one another's ideologies. Okay. So let's go ahead. That part. Me too. Them boys love touching you. Child, being in high school, them boys that was horny. And middle school. God. I remember the day I got my cycle, the day my period came. I was in the 6th grade and I was 11 years old. I'm talking that day. I didn't even know what was going on. I remember seeing something that morning, but and I had been through sex ed, right? It's just a side story. I had been through sex ed. But I was still very confused when it showed up because it wasn't red. It was brown, right? Listen, if men in the room, listen, you uncomfortable, okay? You can leave, you can come back, whatever, right? So even though I had been through sex ed in the 5th grade and I had had talks with my peoples, I was just moving so fast and I didn't know what it was. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. Later on, went home, told my mother that's what it was. But throughout that day, them boys could smell that shit on me. I'm telling you, I was 11 years old. I will never forget this day. I was in math class. And listen, I'm a very pretty woman. I'm pretty, right? I had pretty at times, but I'm still pretty. But before I was pretty, I was very awkward looking, right? I went through this ugly duck phase. And, I got a big head. I've got big eyes. I've got big lips. It took a while to grow into this. So I was very strange looking, in my opinion, in elementary and middle school. But the day my period came, them boys knew it somehow, some way. The math teacher, and I remember this shit like it was yesterday. It's so vivid in my mind. Math teacher is turned around writing on the chalkboard, and all the boys, I lie to you not, are literally like doing this thing where they're like humping the desk and looking at me, trying to grow like and I had never gotten that type of attention from boys before, but they were risking getting in trouble and coming in the hallway. And I'm 11, right? You remember like your first couple of times when you came across someone flirting with you when you had never had no one flirt with you yet? They're very instinctual, like though, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that girls, when they're developing and when they're going through puberty, they don't have, hyper urges too. But them boys smelt it and they were hungry. Okay. It was crazy. I don't want to, and I guarantee you, if them boys had the opportunity, they wouldn't give a fuck about being embarrassed and being like, they would have been like, I'm she, her today, and I'm going in that goddamn bathroom because I'm trying to see some boobies. You know how young boys are when they first even learn where boobies are or where butt cheeks are or how to watch porn? they want that shit like it's water, like they needed to survive. And they will do anything to get closer to it. Okay? Like, no, this is the wrong move to give them a pass to get closer to boobies and butt cheeks and sunshine, which is what you call a little girl coochie. Come on now. This don't make sense. This don't make sense. And some people become, they get older and they become so far removed from what the childlike experience was to understand moments when they might have been uncomfortable in a situation most adjacent to what's happening now. Joe Biden is 90 years old and probably sit up there and watch MASH and play Minesweeper and Solitaire all day. He ain't doing shit. Does he really know how dangerous this is for these young people? Does he really know? Does his administration know? Do they care? No, they don't. But they want that medal for being the most woke and for being the president that has been the most supportive and is made the most headway for the LGBT community. Meanwhile, the Black community sitting here like, hello, we're still dying. We're still being targeted. These things still aren't categorized as hate crimes. We still don't have a hate bill. Hello? Hello? Like, like, make it make sense. Once their kids are grown, they say they don't care. Yeah, he's watching MASH and Gilligan's Island and Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie and all that shit that came on TV Land. Okay, Three's Company. He's watching that Battleship. Okay, that's what Joe Biden is doing all day. He's not really trying to relate and understand the struggles and the lack of comfortability and the invasion of privacy that he is inflicting upon these kids. You're going to be hungry if you don't let these boys into the bathroom. What type of ultimatum is that? What type of ultimatum is that? It's a mess. It's a mess. No, it's not it. It's not given. I said Joe playing Minesweeper like I don't play. Listen, Minesweeper was one of the first games I taught myself how to play on an old computer back in the day when computers only had 4 games. Solitaire, some of them had Spider Solitaire, Minesweeper, and one other thing. I taught myself how to play Minesweeper and I still play it. But look. I'm not old, but I know a lot of people don't even know what Minesweeper is. But Joe do. Joe know what Minesweeper is. Joe know what Minesweeper is. Yeah, he need to check out Good Times. Look, this has been a really heavy discussion. And I feel like it was a very pinball. That's what it was. This has been a very heavy discussion, but I feel it's a very necessary discussion. If you haven't already taken the opportunity to share this video, hit the share button down below after you hit like, right? Because it's free to support and it's free to share. Share this video with somebody who is going to find this content to be interesting, right? Who's going to find this conversation to be necessary. Share this video with someone who did not know that Joe Biden, right, in June is announcing that he is revoking lunch money from kids if the school does not abide by new transgender policy, which forces them into private areas, bathrooms, showers, and locker rooms of girls. You either have to be hungry or obliged by this, which is going to be intrusive, and women are going to suffer. Girls are going to suffer. Again, I shared with you the information. You can do further research on that. In 2021, just last year, a young woman was sexually assaulted in a school bathroom by a young man granted access by the district's transgender policies. You got people dressing up in dresses to in drag just to go read to kids in the library so that later on they can touch the kids, because they know if they're wearing a dress and makeup, you're apprehensive to ask questions because they're part of that community where the general consensus is you better not question them. They're going to come after you. So if they're doing it to young children, what makes you think that your teenagers are off limits? Adults won't be the only ones abusing this rule, this loophole to abuse other kids. You've got adults doing it who are grooming and who are predatory and pedophiles. But you have other teenagers too who will go ahead and be predatory with that shit too. So it's really important. It is really important. Okay? It's really important. Yeah, I do think that this was a good conversation. Thank you, Mimi, for bringing that out. I never got spider solitary. I'm a regular solitary type girl. But yeah, this was a very heavy and necessary conversation. And I appreciate y'all for gathering around, hopping aboard my bus, paying your fare by hitting the thumbs up button and having this discussion with me. Listen, you know, I'm never going to let you go. I'm never going to let you go. I'm never going to end my stream until I give y'all a little Black History moment. Y'all will learn today. So, you know, you'll know where you're going unless you know where you came from. And Black History is something that I celebrate all year long around here on this channel. Black History is so much more than 1 month. It really is. Let's get into a little bit of Black History today. Now, let's spend a little bit of time with our ancestors, or at least listening to them, because you know they always tell us you don't know where you're going unless you know where you came from. So let's get into a little bit of Black History with this Black History moment.
They got me in the system. Why they gotta do me like that? I know I can be what I wanna be what I wanna be. We've got love for y'all, which I don't know. Just about the feeling. Get down.
All right, now let's get into it. Y'all know how I roll over here on my channel. All right. Let's talk about today. What's today? May 31st? May 31st. We're talking about 1921 on this day in Black history. Okay. So I've got the visual on the screen so you can read as well. And I'm going to show you some visuals too, just to help illustrate this moment in history a little bit better for you. So today in Black history, we're talking about 1921, where the Tulsa Race Massacre happened in the affluent Black community of Greenwood in Tulsa, known as the Black Wall Street. So white supremacists killed more than 300 African Americans. They looted and burned to the ground Black homes and Black businesses. Take a look at some of these devastating pictures. We might have heard about it, but there ain't nothing wrong with brushing up on remembering just sometimes how history repeats itself. When we see how we're being brutalized by the police, when we talk about the quote unquote great replacement theory, how dare you call a theory about exterminating all Black people, right? How dare you even create that connotation around it and call it great? What's great about the extermination of all Black people? Think about it. So it may not be as blatant as this. Oh, but this shit is still going on. They still want to get rid of us by any means necessary. And so sometimes I think going back to look at some of our former issues in history and how our ancestors combated that, because racism ain't went nowhere. It just, and slavery never went anywhere either. It just presented itself in different ways. Technology evolved as the world progressed and all that other stuff. It's popping up in different ways. So if we can look back at the solutions that our ancestors had, the ones that worked and the ones that didn't work, we can come up with a solution if we keep our head in these history books. Okay, let's get into a little bit more information. Footage of prosperous Greenwood, the Black Wall Street before the Tulsa race riot
in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh snap! We got a little clip, 1 minute 28 seconds. Let's watch.
It's the roaring 20s. The country is flourishing. Some African American communities are prospering, like the residents of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A remarkable Baptist pastor named Solomon Sir Jones is the pioneering filmmaker. His footage was lost for more than 50 years. Jones captures the bustling life of Greenwood, which could be any American small town. But Tulsa's whites don't like what they see. In May 1921, after a black man is accused of assaulting a white woman, a white mob rampages through the city. For a night and a day, they loot and burn Greenwood. The Fox News crew captures the only surviving footage. It is the bloodiest racial massacre in American history, leaving nearly 300 dead.
Okay. That was a nice clip with some nice B-roll and some video footage. Okay. Thank you so much, Genty Fit Quit, for the $5 super chat. It says, the way you mix this, let me find out you made mixtapes, though. Listen, y'all know I'm an editor at heart. Okay. I learned the hard way, self-taught myself how to edit a little over 10 years ago. So yeah, that is something. But let's keep on going with this history. And again, thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. And to anyone else thinking about sending a super chat or a cash app, listen, I thank you too. Okay. You know, I get cash apps after the show ends too. Let's continue with this Black history. It says the events of the Tulsa massacre and bodies of the murdered Black people were photographed and turned into souvenir postcards. Well, I'll be. The bodies of the murdered Black people were photographed and turned into souvenir postcards. Let's get a closer look. Little Africa, bitch. Little Africa on fire. Tulsa race riot. I know you lying. They were happy about this so much that they created memorabilia to celebrate the demise of us. Baby, the threat that we pose to them is loud and evident. Capture Negroes on way to convention hall during Tulsa race riot. I know you lying. Look at this. Negroes slain in Tulsa riot. Postcards. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Charred Negro killed in Tulsa riot. 6/1/1921. That is horrible. So this is the day after the situation, and they taking pictures and making postcards out of our remains after they massacred us and our ancestors. God damn. Oh my goodness. Well, that is that. That was more than enough Black history than we needed. Good God. Well, that was today's Black History moment.
Now let's spend a little bit of time with our ancestors, or at least listening to them, because you know they always tell us you don't know where you're going unless you know where you came from. So let's get into a little bit of Black history with this Black History moment.
They got me in the system. Why they gotta do me like that? I know I can be what I wanna be what I wanna be. We've got a love for y'all, which I don't know. Just about the things. Get down.
Man. And see, that's why going back into your history book is so important, because every now and then you come across a tidbit of information. I'm sure the majority of us watching this stream, we've heard about Tulsa, we've heard about Black Wall Street. But you know what I learned today was the postcard aspect. That's something that I really didn't know. And that's why, listen, there's nothing wrong with refreshing and rejogging your memory. I mean, you know what? You know what this reminds me of? Listen, Baltimore stand up, right? Whether you're on the bus, which means you're watching this live stream, or you're catching a replay. One thing that's really grim here in Baltimore, grim but necessary, right? The same way Emmett Till's mother decided to have that open casket to let people know just how evil and malicious people can be. We have here in Baltimore the Blacks and Wax Museum. The Blacks and Wax Museum has a lynch exhibit down in the basement. In order for you to have access to the lynch exhibit, not me getting emotional already, okay? In order for you to get into the lynch exhibit, you have to be 13 and older, or you have to have a parental consent, because it's really, really graphic, right? Wax figures can be very realistic looking. And then the lynch exhibit is just as it sounds, but more. You've got these very realistic recreations of Blacks. Namely, I remember distinctly in the Blacks and Wax Museum, a pregnant woman is hanged, and her stomach is cut open. And you can see the intestines and the baby on the ground lie underneath her, and cats just eating at that. There are other hanged bodies that you can see depicted there as well. I bring this up because you can also see, because we talk about souvenirs based off of our death, because it's a celebration for them. The souvenirs that are in the Blacks and Wax Museum are literally our genitalia in a jar that the whites wanted to keep. I'm talking, they literally cut vaginas off women and put them in a jar with a water-like substance to preserve it, so that they could always look at it and be proud of themselves, a trophy for that atrocity that they inflicted upon us. So they've got vaginas in jars, they've got dicks and balls in jars of Black people that they've hanged and cut those intimate parts off, and they keep them because it makes them happy that they've done this. So when we talk about some of these trigger happy cops, for example, some of y'all might have seen today, if you were busy on the blogs or in the news today, you saw that they shot a pregnant Black woman 5 times today, unarmed, hands in the air, fully cooperating with the police. It brings them joy to see us that way. It brings them joy. They might not have penis and vaginas in jars no more, but don't think that it doesn't still bring them joy to kill us this way, because it does. And that's why I think it's important to look at how our ancestors dealt with this, not the ones that just accepted it. Not the ones who were like, let's just march everything out, because if we march, things might change. Not that, because that's clearly not working. But that lynch exhibit is something. If you haven't been to Baltimore, if you haven't been to the Blacks and Wax Museum, it's intense. Now, mind you, it is in a what you would consider to be like 2 teeny row houses, basically like rented out, gutted out. You know, it's a tight spot, and it doesn't take you anything more than like 40 minutes to go through it. But it's still some history there. As a matter of fact, when I enrolled at Morgan State University, it was a requirement that you go there with them, as if by the time I got to college, I had been to the Blacks and Wax Museum like 50 times. But listen, I've always just been a fanatic of Black history and knowing where we came from. So Cocoa Butter Barbie has a good point, Lord. And they say they are the civilized ones and we're savage. Yeah. 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 It's really interesting. It's really sad. The way our ancestors survived, the way we are forced to survive, the way our kids are going to be forced to survive against all of these oppressive odds that are going to make them uncomfortable and infringe upon their rights, whether it be racism, whether it be, the agenda or whatever else. It's triggering to think about, but somebody's got to think about, and somebody's got to talk about it, because this stuff has to be combated every day. And one group of people who I feel like they definitely shouldn't be alone in combating it every day. Matter of fact, they shouldn't have to combat it, but hell, the kid just shouldn't be alone in having to combat this type of violence and invasion of their rights. Those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. Shout out to the Blacks in Wax Museum. Dollar Day should be coming up one day soon here in Baltimore. It gets hot between sometime in the summer. All of the museums in downtown Baltimore. Matter of fact, all the museums and the main attractions in downtown Baltimore are $1, where you can go to those places for $1 rather than paying full price. We got the Reginald F. Lewis Museum here, which has a lot of Black history. The Blacks in Wax Museum and other stuff. So listen, Baltimore, stand up. Not to take y'all through Baltimore, right? I'll give y'all this sort of tour on Baltimore, but yeah, this is where a lot of our history is, and this is how and where I learned. But look, listen, this has been an amazing show. I think the whole entire show has been pretty bleak, right? It's been really heavy. But these are these uncomfortable conversations and dialogues that need to take place if we want to survive and not be crushed by whatever oppressive forces or teachings are being inflicted upon us and our kids, okay? So listen, my final thoughts when it pertains to the subject of what we were discussing today, right? We were talking about the transgender athlete, Lia Thomas. Listen, no one wants, my final thought is, listen, Lia Thomas, be who you are, but don't make other women uncomfortable. You admitted that you were uncomfortable on the men's team. Now the women are uncomfortable with you being there. I played the interview, and it's just not fair. You need your own sport. When we talk about Grandpa Joe Biden deciding that kids either need to be hungry or allow boys into the girls' bathroom, it's ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous. They need their own bathroom. The transgender agenda, it can sound phobic when you just hear the word by itself, but honestly, you need your own bathroom, you need your own sport, you need your own, because you want to be comfortable off of the backs, and the byproduct of your comfortability is biological women's discomfort, and that's not fair. The erasure of biological women, for example, they feel like it's disrespectful for you to use the term breastfeed. They want you to say chest feeding to make men who can have babies, aka transgender men who were born women who transition over into men. They're like, oh, we feel uncomfortable about women using the term breastfeeding. How about you use chest feeding? So much so that you really have these health organizations sending out information to say, listen, use chest feeding, not breastfeeding. I'll be damned. I am never going to use the term chest feeding instead of breastfeeding. My breasts produce milk, and I'm going to call it breastfeeding. And I don't care how a pregnant man may feel about it. That's not my problem. That I have breasts and my breasts produce milk and they feed babies. It's not my problem that it makes you uncomfortable. That's not my problem. It's not. Okay? And like I said, another final thought that I have is it's just really ironic, right? Some would even say it's funny how the government will fund this and not the security of our schools. It's really ironic. Schools are straying further and further away from teaching the basics: math, science, social studies, home economics. But I really do see a downshift in the intelligence for the coming generation, which is really sad for our future, because they're more worried about gender studies and gender teachings rather than really teaching the kids what they need to know. It's really unfortunate. It really, really is. Hey, Nicole Corner, or yeah. Oh, Comer. I'm sorry. Hey, Nicole Comer. How about they realize if they can have a baby, they're a woman. I don't care how they dress. Child. I am one of the most accepting people, Cocoa Butter Barbie says, anywhere. And I even think that chest feeding might be a bridge too far. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Chest feeding. Yeah. The National Health Organization is like, you don't want to offend the pregnant men. So how about all women, who are more than half of the population? Women outnumber men, okay? So there are more than 50% women in the world. How about all women stop using breastfeeding to satisfy the pregnant men, which is what percentage of the population is that? Very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. But listen, look, this has been an amazing show. It has been deep enough. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. It's 11:34. We've been on for an hour and 39 minutes. This has been an amazing show. Listen, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for checking the community tab. Don't forget to do something to relax today. Don't forget to do something that satisfies you and your bottom line, whether your bottom line be for you, your household, your family. But I really prefer you to really do something for you. You can give to your household and your family and your job and whatever else. But take some time to really be present and do something that really satisfies you. I know when I get off here, I'm going to go eat and get back into a Netflix documentary because I've been down the rabbit hole with Netflix. The Cecil Hotel was good. Our Father was really good. The Pharmacist was really good. And it's a nice escape where I don't have to think about creating content. If there's any news or any information or any entertainment that I am absorbing as a content creator, I am unable to just enjoy it as is because I'm thinking about how am I going to regurgitate this information? How am I going to frame this for people? What's my thumbnail going to look like? How am I going to talk about this? What's my outline? And I'm really able to escape and serve myself and indulge in self-care when I am watching Netflix. So that's what I'm going to be doing to relax a little bit because sometimes I literally spend 23 and a half hours a day focused on YouTube, even if I'm on camera for like 2 hours. And while I know y'all appreciate my dedication, that can be kind of unhealthy to me. And I know a lot of you all urge me to really take care of myself because sometimes I push myself a little bit too hard to the point where my body just shuts down. Do you know somebody sent me a message the other day and they were dead serious. It said that you are showing signs of a stroke. Check your blood pressure. I was like, oh my God, what are the signs? And she wasn't trolling. She was serious. I don't know whether she was, if that is something that, if I'm really showing those signs, but I can say that I deplete myself a lot when I'm trying to bring you all quality content. And that's why I don't take any of y'all support for granted, like none of it. Those of y'all who support me from the old channel, who found me again, those of you all who are backstage sending me motivational messages when I share like little personal tidbits back there. Listen, y'all support really makes me emotional. It does, to see the way that y'all really ride for me. You send me ideas. You're always looking out for me. If you feel like there's something out here that's not in my best interest, you alert me and you let me know about it. Y'all are some of the best supporters ever. I mean, ever. I could never be more grateful for all that y'all do. So before I get emotional thinking about that, because I'm just like, I only got 5,000 subs. Why are y'all so caring? But y'all really be going hard for me. And I appreciate that. So I asked what signs do they observe too, and they sent me more messages, but I haven't opened them yet. So yeah, that is that. And listen, thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. Brittany says, I love tonight's thumbnail. Look, I had to get Grandpa Joe on there. I had to put Granddaddy Joe up on there. Let me put it right here. I had to get Granddaddy Joe. I say, yeah, you and your, hold on, let me get myself. Here we go. Granddaddy Joe out here trying to starve the kids so that the boys can go in the girls' bathroom. Make it make sense. These are some of the issues under the flag. So look, if y'all could help me, right? Because this is something that I term. There are other people online who, like, for example, burn the cape, right? When we talk about Black women who go out of their way to defend or rescue or coddle Black men who don't need to be coddled, they call that burning the cape. Other people, I'm not sure if it was like Cynthia G or Paris Milan, I'm not sure who coined that, but someone did. And kudos to them. For me, what I've coined over here is issues under the flag, because there are a lot of people who are targeting children and using that flag as a shield. I coined this term, issues under the flag. So who knows if it's going to pick up traction or not, but if and when you hear somebody else talking about issues under the flag. In that exact context, those 4 words, issues under the flag, just know it came from me, and bring my name up in the chat. That's all I say. There's no way that I'm going to be the only person till the day I die that's going to be talking about these predators using the identity and the labeling of the LGBT community to get their pedophilic rocks off. There's going to be other people doing that shit too. So just make sure y'all know where that term originated from, okay? And if the person ain't giving me my credit by using that term, baby, just drop my name in the chat and bring it up. Send me the inbox. Send me the video, okay? Send me the goddamn video, okay? Because there are a lot of issues under the flag. I don't have a problem with the LGBT community. I don't care what you want to wear. I don't care who the hell you want to sleep with. As long as you're happy and it serves you. I'm talking about the people who are aiming at children. And those are the people that I want to make uncomfortable. Those are the people that I want to call out. Those are the people that need more than just me with this little teeny ass platform to call their asses out. And that's why I've coined this term, issues under the flag. It ain't the entire flag. It's a small segment of people trying to attach themselves to the flag. And that's unfair to the people who are a part of that community who don't have those fucked up intentions. Okay? So listen. Listen. Joe Biden up there with his cigarette hanging out his mouth. I ain't got time. I ain't got time. They said his cornrows too tight. I think they are. They're a little bit too tight. Okay? Listen, y'all know when it gets late, I get extra goofy. Listen. Let me know your thoughts on everything that we discussed this evening, all the neighborhoods that we stopped off at, from the transgender athletes making the biological women uncomfortable, from lunch being held over the school system's heads if they aren't allowing boys to enter the girls' restroom. And hell, even if you want to talk about the Black History Moment, those are the 3 different neighborhoods that we stopped past this evening. Keep it sticky and real down below in the comments. If you're on the bus and you caught the bus, drop it in the live chat. If you are chasing the bus, it means you're watching the replay. So leave it down below in the comments, and I can't wait to chop it up with you all, okay? If you didn't see all of my thoughts about the D.L. Hughley and Monique situation, make sure you check out the last live stream about that, because we get into the contracts, the legal jargon, and all that other stuff. And listen, it's controversial, and it's all opinion, okay? Listen, everyone, I hope that you have an amazing evening. Make sure you subscribe and thumbs up or down. Either way, I appreciate it. And be sure to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of this celebrity or trending serve, because you know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. You know I'm always going to be the one to break it down for you. Okay? Drop one of them pancake emojis down below. And y'all make sure y'all stay beautiful, black, and blessed until the next video. Here's a message from my cat, and then we're going to get out of here. All right? Leo, get down. Get down. It's not a thank you, because it's not a question. A sick Negro ass cat. I'm telling you.
This is a sick Negro.
Bye, y'all. I'm going to eat dinner. Y'all have a good night.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.